She dumped me to teach me a lesson. I ignored her. Now she's begging for attention. My girlfriend used to think our relationship was like a credit card. The more I earned, the more she could spend. The day I canceled the limit, she canceled the relationship. That was the only fair charge she ever made. Hey Reddit, I'm Elvis, 27, and I've been with my girlfriend Lydia, 25, for almost 4 years. I've never written anything like this, but I'm totally lost and need an outside perspective because I feel too emotionally involved to see things clearly. I'll get straight to the point. The financial trigger. For the past few weeks, my relationship has felt like a stranger's. Lydia started acting in a way I don't understand, and it's left me confused, exhausted, and worried about the future we were supposedly building. Lydia is a wedding or event planner, and I'm an architect. We have different schedules and lifestyles, but we've always balanced each other well. Until recently. We've lived together for 2 years. Since the beginning, we agreed to split expenses proportional to our income, because it seemed the fairest way. Back then, we earned roughly the same, so we settled on me paying 60% and her 40%. This worked perfectly for a long time. 3 months ago, I got a salary bump. It wasn't huge, but it was enough to boost my savings and think more about the future. This raise changed something in Lydia, and nothing has been the same since. I remember telling her over dinner, pasta and salad, nothing fancy. She congratulated me, smiled, and said I deserved it. But that happiness lasted less than 2 minutes. She put down her fork, looked at me seriously, and said, "Great, so now you can pay 80% of the expenses, and I'll pay 20%. I thought she was joking. I waited for a smile that never came. "Are you serious?" I asked. "Of course. You earn more. That means you can contribute more. It's logical." I felt the knot in my stomach, not because I didn't want to help, but because I was planning to use that extra money to save for a house, a dream we always shared. "Honey," I said calmly, "I wanted to save this money for the house. Besides, I already pay more than you. Why should I cover almost everything myself? What would you do with the money you'd save if I paid 80%? She sighed as if my question was ridiculous. "Oh, you know, girl stuff. I think I've been working too hard and deserve a break and some treats. Actually, you should be buying me those treats. Don't you want your woman to be happy?" I was speechless. Lydia had never been like this. She was always responsible and careful with money. We'd always agreed that if we wanted a serious future, we both needed to save. That's when it exploded. She frowned and called me a cheapskate, said I didn't know how to enjoy life, and that she was tired of living on a budget. If I earned more, it was only logical for me to pay more. The argument lasted almost an hour, and she just went to sleep without another word. The following days were silent hell. She barely spoke to me. If I tried to bring it up to talk, she'd say she didn't want to argue and had already made her point. The worst part? Every time I tried to express my perspective, she played the victim, acting like I was a tyrant denying her basic needs instead of us planning a future together. During this time, I started noticing strange behavior. Lydia began buying things she didn't need. Clothes, perfumes, accessories, and new decorations. Not huge purchases, but frequent ones. When I asked if she was sure she wanted to spend so much, she got angry and said she deserved to treat herself, and it wasn't my business. But it was my business, because every time she spent money unnecessarily, she would later complain about not being able to afford her personal bills, implying I should cover more. I feel like the person I knew for 4 years isn't here anymore. I don't know if she's suddenly changed or if I simply hadn't seen who she really was. The lesson that backfired. The breaking point came a few days ago, when I tried to have a serious talk. I told her the relationship wasn't working. Her attitude was affecting me, and we needed a clear financial plan, especially if we wanted to buy a house soon. I said this with concern and love, not anger. Her reaction was completely unexpected. She stood up, looked at me with disdain, and said, "Sometimes I think you're getting too big for your britches. Maybe I should break up with you to see if that makes you value what you have." I thought it was an empty threat, a phrase said in the heat of the moment, but I was wrong. "I don't know what you mean," I replied. "You need a lesson," she said. "Let's see if that cures your cheapskate." And she repeated, "A lesson." I don't know if she said it to manipulate me out of immaturity, or if she really believes a relationship is a prize or punishment she can grant based on my behavior. What I know is that it hurt far more than I imagined. I asked her not to say things like that, and if she really didn't want to be with me, we should talk like adults. But she insisted. She said she wasn't really breaking up with me. She just wanted to scare me into changing my attitude and agreeing to pay more. We slept in the same bed that night, back to back. The next day, she left early for work and didn't text me all day. That's when I started asking myself if it was worth fighting for anymore. I do love her, but I'm seeing red flags I missed before. Emotional manipulation, financial immaturity, and a twisted idea of building something together. Where I am now. That's why I'm here, writing this. I don't know what to do. I've never been in a relationship this long or this serious. I don't want to make an impulsive decision, but I also don't want to stay in a relationship that drains me. I hate to say it, but Lydia is a terrible spender. She spends without thinking, without planning, and without considering the consequences. And when she runs out of money, she expects me to solve everything. I wasn't raised that way. I was taught to save, plan, and think about the future. My question to you is simple, but important to me. Am I overreacting? Is this normal in a relationship? What should I do? I don't want this post to be an attack on her. I just want to understand if I'm being unfair or if I'm genuinely seeing red flags.
Update 1. The escalation. I bought the dress, she had a meltdown. It's been 2 weeks since my last post, and honestly, I thought things with Lydia would improve with a bit of space, communication, and calm, but the opposite happened. Everything became tenser, more uncomfortable, and more draining. I want to explain something that happened a few days ago because it was the moment I truly felt something broke between us. It's a perfect example of what I'm living through. The dinner demand. Since we moved in together, we had a habit we both loved, going out once a week for a nice dinner. Not necessarily expensive, just a restaurant where we could disconnect, talk about the week, and feel like we were on a real date without screens or distractions. It was our special time. This week, when she asked where we were going for dinner, I was excited to keep the tradition. I replied with enthusiasm. I was thinking this weekend we could have a date night here at home, catch up on the movies we haven't seen, buy some snacks, and for dinner I was thinking of those double Western bacon cheeseburgers. They're your favorite, right? I said sincerely. She loves those burgers, and honestly, I needed a financial break after the raise argument and her constant demands. I thought she would smile or at least consider the idea. But she rolled her eyes with a look of pure disgust. "Seriously? The richer a guy gets, the cheaper he is?" she said without skipping a beat. "Dinner here, watching a movie? What are we, high school sweethearts? You have more money now. You should be spoiling me by taking me to Vicentillo's." For those who don't know, that restaurant is easily the most expensive place in the city. Each main course costs several times what a normal dinner would cost. A simple dessert there costs what a normal dinner costs anywhere else. I calmly replied, "You know that restaurant is insanely expensive, right? With what we'd spend there, we could go out 3 times more." She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me and smiled as if she had a brilliant idea. "Well, how about we go shopping instead?" "Why?" I saw some beautiful dresses, and I'm sure you'd love to see me in one." That's when I realized it wasn't about the dinner. It was something deeper. She was looking for me to spend money. It didn't matter what on. "Honey, you know we're saving." She crossed her arms. "Come on, it's on an installment plan with 0 interest. You won't even notice you bought it." I felt frustrated, but I tried to negotiate the situation. I didn't want another fight. I didn't want another day full of sarcastic comments and awkward silence. I know, it might sound weak. Maybe it was a doormat move, but I agreed to go look at the dress. I thought buying one might calm her down a bit, or at least show that I wasn't opposed to occasionally treating her. The dress was genuinely beautiful and outrageously expensive, but I paid for it. I won't lie, it hurt to spend that amount, but I did it hoping it would lower the tension between us. The problem is, she didn't want a dress. She wanted an entire day of shopping. As soon as we left the store, she started pointing out window displays, shoes, bags, accessories. She wasn't suggesting it casually. Everything was a thinly veiled hint like, "I like this," or "This would look good on me," but with a tone that made it clear she expected me to pay. That's when I put my foot down. I said, "I already bought you the dress. Wear the first one and then think about whether you need more stuff." She looked at me as if I had said something offensive. Then her expression changed to open irritation. "My God, when are you going to learn to value me?" she said out loud, right there in the store. "You're a cheapskate. Is this how you keep me as your girlfriend? How are you going to keep me as your wife? You'll probably want me to buy food at discount stores or the farmer's market, won't you?" I know it sounds absurd, but she was serious, as if buying groceries anywhere but a high-end store was a humiliation. I tried to stay calm. I reminded her she had the dress, and that was the limit for now. She then responded, "The worst thing you could do is just swipe the card. Max it out if you have to. It doesn't matter. You know how to pay it off later." I refused. Obviously, I refused. And that's when she exploded. I don't know how to describe what followed. It was like arguing with a 5-year-old. She started crying in public in an exaggerated way as if I had done something terrible. People were staring, some curious, others uncomfortable. She repeated phrases like, "You don't love me. I'm the only one trying in this relationship. Why are you like this with me? And we're going to be poor forever." I felt completely exposed. Not out of shame, but because of the feeling that she was willing to destroy any boundary to get what she wanted. The context didn't matter, the people around us didn't matter, my reputation didn't matter, nor did our relationship, only the impulse of the moment. The entire way home, she kept crying. Not a quiet, desperate cry, but an incessant wailing. Every phrase seemed designed to make me feel guilty, insufficient, responsible for her happiness or misery, until she finally said something that made me think in a way I never thought I would consider. "I don't even bother trying to be your wife anymore. What kind of life awaits us with you counting every penny?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I felt like anything I said would only make things worse. When we got home, she locked herself in the bathroom without a word. I sat in the living room in silence, trying to understand when our relationship turned into this. I'm not perfect, but I've always tried to be responsible, have a vision for the future, and think of us as a team. I don't understand how that became a flaw. I don't understand how saving became being a cheapskate. And I don't understand why Lydia believes the value of our relationship depends exclusively on how much money I spend on her. Honestly, I'm mentally, emotionally, and financially exhausted. I don't want to make impulsive decisions, but I also don't want to keep living in an environment where I'm treated like an ATM or an obstacle to her whims. Every day I'm more convinced that she's crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed in any relationship. I don't know if she's going through something she hasn't told me, or if this is her true character and it just took time to surface. But I'm starting to wonder if there's really any point in staying here. Update 2. She broke up with me. For real this time. I didn't think I'd be writing an update so soon, but what happened in the last few hours has completely changed the dynamic of this story. I'm still processing it, but I think I need to write it down to understand it better. Lydia broke up with me, just like that, without a deep conversation, without any intention of fixing anything. She just grabbed a suitcase, argued with me for a few minutes, and then left the apartment. But I'll explain everything from the beginning, because the way it happened says a lot about the emotional state we were in and how our relationship was collapsing. The day started like any other. I went to work, reviewed blueprints, attended a meeting, resolved issues on a construction project, and came home exhausted, but intending to talk to Lydia calmly. The past few weeks hadn't been easy, and I thought maybe we could find some middle ground if we talked calmly. When I walked into the apartment, I noticed an odd silence. It wasn't the typical silence of someone resting or on their phone. It was a stiff, tense silence, like the air was held captive. I dropped my keys and went to the living room. Lydia was sitting on the couch with her arms crossed, staring at the blank TV screen. Her expression wasn't sad or tired. It was a mix of irritation and resolve. "We need to talk," she said, without greeting me, barely raising her voice. I sat down across from her, maintaining a safe distance. "Okay," I replied. "I agree we need to talk." She sighed, as if she had spent hours preparing a speech she was about to unleash. "I can't keep doing this, Elvis. I can't be with someone so conforming, so limited in vision. I'm getting fed up with this mediocre life." Her words were direct. There was no room for alternative interpretations. I was silent for a few seconds, trying to understand which part of what she was saying had any basis in reality, or if she was just projecting her frustrations onto me. "Mediocre?" I repeated. "For wanting to save for a house? For wanting both of us to contribute fairly?" "Fairly?" she interrupted. "You earn more than me. The fair thing would be for you to contribute more. That's how a couple works. And besides, I told you I want to start treating myself. I feel like I deserve it. I work hard, Elvis, much harder than you think." "I don't doubt that you work," I said calmly. "But I work too, and I do it so we both have stability. We can't spend like money is infinite." She rolled her eyes, a gesture that had become habitual. "That's your problem. Always thinking about the future, what might happen, what we have to save. You never think about me, my desires, what I want now." "They're not my numbers, Lydia. Our life requires responsibility. If someone neglects the finances, the life falls apart. It's that simple." She stood up abruptly and walked toward the bedroom without saying anything. The silence returned, this time denser. I sat waiting for her to come back to continue the conversation, but what returned wasn't an explanation. It was a visual blow. She came out carrying a large closed suitcase, as if she had packed it before I even arrived. "What are you doing?" I asked, startled. "I'm leaving," she replied, without looking at me. "I don't want to be here anymore, not in this limited life." She took a few steps toward the door. I stood up instinctively. "Lydia, do you really want to end things like this, without trying to fix anything?" She stopped. She finally looked at me, but her expression was cold. "I don't feel good with you anymore, and I don't think you're happy either. You try to act like this is a perfect relationship, but it's not. We're stagnant. You're stubborn, and I'm tired of asking for basic things and you always having an excuse to say no." I felt a strange mix of disbelief and weariness. "Basic things?" I asked. "For going to overpriced restaurants every week? Buying clothes with no control? Me paying 80% of the expenses so you can treat yourself? Does that seem basic to you?" She didn't answer. She lowered her gaze for just a second, as if what I had said had hit her, even minimally. But then she lifted her head, reaffirming her stance. "If you can't give me the life I deserve, there's no point in us continuing." Her final words were the closest thing to a stab. Not because they hurt in the classic emotional sense, but because they made me understand exactly how she saw our relationship, as a transaction where I should invest more, always more, to keep her content. I didn't want a relationship like that. I don't want to be the emotional, financial, and psychological support for someone who shows no reciprocity. But still, the way everything was happening felt too abrupt. "Is there someone else?" I asked. I said it without insinuation. I just needed clarity. She frowned, as if the question offended her. "No, but even if there was, I don't think it's any of your business right now." That evasive, non-committal answer only increased my confusion. "Lydia, I don't understand what you expect to achieve by doing this." "I want a better life," she replied flatly, "and you're not willing to give it to me." There was silence, intense, heavy, almost suffocating. Then she picked up her suitcase again, opened the door, and took a few steps. Just before leaving, she turned. "I hope this separation serves as a reflection for you. Maybe then you'll understand that sometimes you have to try harder if you want to keep someone like me." And she left. The door closed with a dry sound, not quite a slam. It was a deliberate, calculated exit, as if she wanted me to feel the impact without a scene. I stood there looking at the closed door for several seconds. Then I sat back down on the couch. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't get angry. I just felt something hard to describe, a kind of uncomfortable emptiness, an unnatural calm. I don't know if it was shock, sadness, or simple emotional exhaustion, but the curious thing is that after a few minutes, the emptiness began to transform. What I felt next was relief. It wasn't joy. It wasn't absolute freedom. It was a strange kind of relief, as if a massive weight had been lifted off me, a weight I hadn't realized was dragging me down until it disappeared. I first felt it in my shoulders, which seemed less tense, then in my chest, which no longer hurt as much as in the recent arguments, and then in my head, which suddenly felt lighter. It was as if my body was physically reacting to the absence of conflict, the absence of demands, the absence of someone who expected me to be a constant provider, without pause, without limits, without consideration for my own needs. I sat for nearly an hour without moving, reflecting on the last few months. And the more I thought, the clearer something became. Lydia didn't leave because the relationship was bad. Lydia left because she didn't get what she wanted. She confused my boundaries with a lack of love. She confused my responsible decisions with cheapness. She confused my efforts to build a future with her with complacency. And when she couldn't mold me into what she wanted, she decided to leave to teach me a lesson. But the truth is, the only thing she taught me was to recognize my own limits and see that a relationship like that was not sustainable. I don't know what will happen in the coming days. I don't know if she will try to contact me or keep her distance. I don't know if she did this impulsively or if she truly believes she deserves a different life with someone willing to spend without thinking. For now, I only know one thing. I breathe better since she left. I'm genuinely sad because I didn't want it to come to this, but I am calmer than I have been at any point in the last few weeks. Final update. The begging begins. A few days have passed since Lydia broke up with me like that, without warning, without a real conversation, without a minimal attempt at understanding. I still vividly remember that afternoon when I came home from work. 3 days later, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered without thinking, imagining it might be work-related, but it was her. Her first sentence was, "So what are you waiting for?" No greeting, no context, just a demand. Waiting for what? I asked, genuinely confused. To apologize and come get me. Aren't you going to fight for me? It seems like I don't matter to you at all. At that moment, everything was revealed to me.
Lydia didn't want to come back because she missed me, or because she'd reflected. She wanted me to play the role she'd written, the man desperate to win her back, ready to beg. And since I didn't follow that script, she was now offended. I replied calmly, "No, Lydia, I'm not going to fight for you, and you don't matter to me anymore. You decided to end things. It was the best thing for both of us. Goodbye." And I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't say anything sarcastic. I didn't react impulsively. I just spoke the truth. Hanging up gave me such profound peace that I stared at the phone for several seconds, as if I hadn't processed what I'd just done. It was the first time in a long time that I had taken a clear stand with her. But the surprising thing happened that same afternoon. There was a loud knock on the door, and when I cracked it open, there was Lydia. Her hair was messy, her eyes were puffy, and her breathing was ragged. Even so, she was still trying to maintain that superior, manipulative attitude. "You are so proud," she said as soon as she saw me. "A simple, 'I'm sorry' would have been enough, but fine, I'll give you a break. I'll come back to you, but with conditions." I looked at her for a few seconds. The person in front of me was the same one who had broken up with me so coldly a few days earlier. I replied without raising my voice, "No, I don't want you back. I like my new peace." That sentence hit her like a bucket of ice water. I saw it. Her eyes instantly filled with tears. It didn't hurt her to lose me. It hurt that I wasn't begging. "Stop it, Elvis. Stop playing games," she said, as if my reaction were childish. "I'm not playing games," I replied. "I don't want you. You caused me stress. I'm working on a project, and I don't want to waste time. Please, leave." She tried to push the door open to come in, but I held it firmly. No pushing, no shouting, nothing aggressive. I simply wouldn't let her pass. In that instant, she broke. Her shoulders slumped. Her expression shifted from anger to a sadness I had never seen in her before. She looked at me as if she had just realized something she never imagined. I was no longer willing to be her emotional lifeline. Without saying another word, she covered her mouth, burst into tears, and ran down the stairs. I heard the echo of her steps as she went down. Although for a moment I felt the impulse to follow her, something inside me stopped me. I knew that if I chased after her, everything would go back to how it was before. The deluge of begging. The following days were a flood of messages, photos, and emails. Starting the next morning, she began sending me pictures of us, trips, birthdays, outings, selfies. Along with each photo, she wrote things like, "Do you remember when you loved me? You're throwing away years of a relationship. Are you really going to leave me like this?" I responded only once. "Lydia, you broke up with me. I don't want anything. I need you to respect my decision." Her reply was a mix of victimization and anger. "Don't say it was my decision. You pushed me to it. I do want to fix things. Just tell me what to do." I told her no, to stop writing me. When she didn't stop, I had to block her. That didn't stop her. She started calling me from numbers I didn't know. On the 5th call, I answered thinking it was work. It was her, crying. "Don't block me, please. Talk to me. I don't want to be alone. I need you." That sentence confirmed what I had been feeling for days. Lydia wasn't reaching out to me out of love, but out of fear. She couldn't stand being alone. She couldn't accept not being in control. I hung up and blocked that number too. The calls continued for days. Messages from new numbers, direct emails to the spam folder, crying voice notes, others complaining, others trying to sound calm. Even messages like, "I know you're reading this, answer me." But there was nothing left to answer. Each attempt only reinforced the idea that the relationship had been an emotional trap that I had normalized for too long. And now, seeing things from the outside, I couldn't believe how much I had tolerated. The new reality. As the days passed, I began to feel something I hadn't felt with her in a long time: tranquility. I'm not saying there aren't moments of nostalgia. Of course there are. Ending a relationship, even a toxic one, leaves an empty space. But it's an emptiness that doesn't hurt. A space that feels breathable, like when you remove a very heavy piece of furniture from a room and can finally walk around without tripping. What surprises me most is realizing that Lydia wasn't in love with me, she was in love with the role I played. The man who supported her when she couldn't handle her own life, the one who always gave in, the one who gave more, the one who made her feel important when she didn't feel sufficient. But that's not love, it's dependency. And I was losing myself in the middle of it without realizing it. I know I sound harsh, but the truth is, I don't want to repeat this story. I don't want to walk on eggshells again. I don't want to measure my words to avoid meaningless arguments. I don't want to be responsible for her emotional stability. And even though continuing to block numbers and accounts might seem uncomfortable, I am firm on one thing. I am not going back. I don't miss what she and I were. I only miss the idea of what I thought we were. Today I am recovering my life, my projects, and my peace. I still have a lot to process, but I know the worst is over. And I know Lydia will keep trying to contact me until she finally accepts the reality. But I'm not there. I no longer feel the urge to rescue her, to justify her behavior, or to think that she will get better over time. It is not my responsibility to heal something she doesn't want to acknowledge herself. Sometimes losing a person is the only way to find yourself. And as hard as that sounds, that's exactly what happened to me. Reddit comment of the day. To Lydia, with love. He ghosted you. The ATM is now permanently offline.